The reason people will do business with you is not only do you know your business, but you are an expert. But you are an expert that after you run a sales call, that prospect leaves that meeting and here's what they're saying to themselves. He or she made my brain hurt. That you can't outsource. You can outsource X amount of intellect, but we cannot outsource being a true trusted advisor, being a person that runs a highly consultative sales process. We're going to talk about that. Patty was a person of perspective. She knew at that point, me being vice president of sales, I had a problem to tackle. I didn't need another problem. I didn't need an attitude problem. I didn't need a blame problem. I needed to be focusing my attention on the problem to serve the customer. Helping others get their crops in means you gotta pay attention to something besides yourself. Great sales organizations are grounded. They never catch the disease of arrogance, which has two sister diseases called complacency and mediocrity.
Over time, in business and in life, there are recurring themes, fundamental core values, foundations for success that hold true and span the generations.
Get clear on your values, because once you become clear on your values, folks, decision-making becomes very easy. And in a global economy, you've got to make decisions quickly.
These underlying values are timeless. They're cornerstones of successful business.
So this gentleman has a brand new rep. She's out of college. She hasn't had a lick of sales training. She lands an appointment with a fairly big prospect. They're sitting in front of the prospect, and he's one of those posturing prospects. Anybody been in front of someone that's very important? Keeps looking at his watch. Anybody ever had an appointment like that? Well, she's too young. She's right out of college. She doesn't know he's game playing. So she's going to build some rapport, and she says, "Sir, is that a brand new watch?" Now, what do you think her manager's doing? As I said to you earlier in the Forrest Gump movie, please, dear God, make me a bird, make me fly, fly away, all right? Well, the prospect is startled because someone's called him on his game plan. He said, "Well, why do you ask?" She said, "Well, you keep looking at it, so I figured it must be brand new. It is very nice." Did they get the business? The game playing was off. What happens, see, the beauty of when you're real on a call, you're authentic on a call, you're genuine on a call, guess what? It takes two to play the game.
Colleen Stanley is a professional speaker and author. She's a sales and leadership expert.
Before you can build a marketing strategy, a sales strategy, you really have to know who do you do your best work for.
In her programs, Colleen combines over 20 years' experience in executive sales and leadership positions with steadfast Midwestern values from the heartland.
If I could suggest one type of seed to plant in your culture, you only had one, I would tell you to plant the seed of attitude. And I learned the power of attitude at a time of the year called harvest. Anybody familiar with harvest? Harvest is the equivalent of a company hitting their sales goal, except we don't use fancy terms in the farm. We just call it getting the crops in. And every year at this time of the year, Mother Nature would do her best to prevent you from hitting that goal. She'd send rain, snow, sleet, hail, and on top of all of that, you can count on equipment failure. I'm 48 years old. I have members of my family that still farm. I have never heard a member of my family say these words: "We're not going to get the crops in." I have heard him say, "It's going to be tougher this year. It's going to take a little longer this year. We're going to have to work 24/7. Because farmers have a culture. Farmers have a great culture, and the culture is this: we only manage the results, not the excuses. There's always plenty of reasons not to get the crops in. If you've read the book by Jim Collins, Good to Great, one of the companies he mentions is Nucor. And Nucor is a large steel-making company. And when they went to figure out where are we going to put our new plants, they didn't go to the typical steel towns like Gary, Indiana, or Pittsburgh. They went to Norfolk in Indiana. Because their belief was this: we can teach farmers how to make steel. We cannot teach someone a farmer work ethic. If you don't think something as fluffy as attitude can make you money, think again.
Colleen Stanley is the author of Growing Great Sales Teams, Lessons from the Cornfield. In addition, Colleen is a monthly columnist for numerous business journals across the country and co-author of Motivational Selling.
What would happen if you had a farmer mentality? And let's say you're that sales rep, you are charging ahead this year, or you're way ahead of goal. Instead of taking another day to earn more money, you actually took a day off to ride with the new kid and teach them everything you know about the business. Or you take a day to ride with that veteran that's in a slump and they can't figure out what they're doing right or wrong. I'll tell you what happens. You grow a company from 8 million to 90 million. Because that's the type of people we had at Varsity, and that was the mentality.
Under Colleen's direction as a Vice President of Sales and Marketing for Varsity Spirit Corporation, sales increased tenfold to over $90 million, gaining recognition by Forbes magazine as one of the 200 fastest growing companies.
We used to have a joke at Varsity. What's the difference between a cheerleading mom and a pit bull? Lipstick. Do you have Costco's out here, Sam's Club? Okay, now, I go into Costco. What kind of a buyer am I? I'm what? I'm a transactional buyer. I'm not expecting personnel to show me where anything is. I'm not expecting someone to point me out the size, tell me it looks fabulous, the meat's good, etc. I'm going in for one thing and one thing only, price. And in fact, what always cracks me up is when you're checking out of Costco or Sam's Club, and they give you that box because they say, do you want something to carry this out in the car? And they give you a box with no sides because you don't get a bag. And do you all say this? Thank you. I really appreciate it. And you're real grateful for this box after you purchased $500 worth of groceries. Then I get in my car and I drive over to Whole Foods Natural Foods, right? And I pay $6 for a red pepper that has been told to me by the personnel that a pesticide has never seen this thing. So now I'm a value buyer. And when I check out of that grocery store, I have what? A nice, thick plastic bag. Are these stores competing for the same customer? No. They're perfectly clear, perfectly comfortable with this is our business model, and everything we do as the value buyer, value model, is what we'll build. That means from hiring personnel, the type of services, and the products we provide. On the other hand, Costco and Sam's Club, very clear on their model.
Today, Colleen Stanley takes her audience on a timeless journey, revisiting fundamental heartland values, powerful lessons she learned from growing up on an Iowa farm. Colleen draws from these lessons to create great sales teams, higher sales results, effective leadership outcomes.
I will guarantee you this: you will always be beat by the company that has a culture of show up and try, figure it out, and do your best. Second lesson I learned growing up in the heartland was being the real deal. You know, when a farmer gets up in the morning, he doesn't go over to his closet and scratch his head and ask himself, do I wear Armani today or Ralph Lauren? Labels don't mean much on the farm because people from the heartland are more concerned about who you are than what you do. When you go into a sales meeting, instead of seeking to make a sale, why don't we seek to look for the truth? Why don't we seek to look, is this a prospect that really has a problem that I can solve? Is this a prospect that's really committed to solving the problem, investing the time and money? If we would go in with critical thinking skills, almost a skeptical mindset, we would really get to the root cause of more problems. Because instead of buying the buying signal, does anyone know what I mean by that? Dee hears from her prospects, gee, I'm just lousy at communication. Now, if Dee didn't have a skeptical mindset, she'd start buying that buying signal. And she'd actually believe that they had a communications problem. But when you have a skeptical mindset, you look for the 3 W's. You look for, why do you think you have a communication skills problem here? What's the impact it's having on your organization today? And if you don't clear up this communications problem, how is it going to affect your organization in the future? Great sales organizations, great sales professionals seek the truth. They seek to do the right thing, and they have a skeptical mindset.
Colleen's keynotes and workshops offer fundamental, time-tested lessons and principles that can be applied toward today's modern business environment.
Focus, by the way, is the new leadership skill of the future. We live in a high-tech society. We got cell phones, they're strapped to our hip. The minute they go off, we're at attention. It reminds me of old Gunsmoke shows, all right? And then we've got PDAs, we got Crackberries, we got Trios, and the minute an email comes across, we read it. We are connected. And I will share with you, in our desire to be connected, we are becoming disconnected. Because I can't tell you how many times I've been having a conversation with someone, and I think it's a pretty good conversation, and one of the electronics goes off. You know, it's like a dog with a shock collar. And the person drops the conversation to check into the technology. I can't tell you how many meetings I've been in where people are presenting, a coworker, guest speaker, and no one's paying attention because everybody's checking the BlackBerries. Focus is the new leadership skill of the future.
Colleen believes in the new age of selling and leadership. It's our core values that remain best business practices.
When you go back to your offices today, I hope you'll think about the Heartland principles. They are the foundation for building great organizations. Thanks.
For booking information, please contact the person who provided this program.